Our next speaker will be a duo, two persons, not just single. So the first one is Dato Choo, which is the president of the Malaysian Buddhist Research Society and also Yayasan Belia Buddhist Malaysia. She is educated as a Master of Science in engineering. He has a variety of professional background. He is a retired director, Public Works Department of Malaysia, CEO in governing company. He is very active in Buddhist society. He is author of books and also have received an award on Outstanding Buddhist Worker and Global Peace Ambassador. And he's been knighted, Royal Knight of Loyalty and Royal Champion of Loyalty and Order of the Defender of the States. And he's involved in the environmental winner of National and Regional Energy Awards, presenter at international conferences, and has a paper on Buddhist perspective on sustainable environment. Would you please welcome Brother Choo. And the next speaker, can I borrow? The next one is Ms. Tyng, who's from the Buddhist Missionary Society of Malaysia, has 13 years of experience as sustainability management career, developed several green initiatives, and received multiple awards, PMHA, Masra, Asra, experience in establishing carbon footprint for printed material and event, established the sustainability department of NET's print work sendirian berhad, and manage numerous certification, ISO, FSC, PEFC. That's a long qualification, and she's holding a Master MBA from University of West of England. Please welcome our next speaker, Sister Tyng. So they both will be speaking. Sister Tyng will be like a consultant of the environment, social, and governance, ESG. And so we start with Brother Ang with the topic of.
Okay, thank you, Sister Kamalia, Venerable Mahasangha, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma.
On
the outset, I would say that I'm not an environmentalist. In the spectrum between environmentalist and development, I'm actually at the other end of the development. I'm an engineer. I modify the environment. I exploit the environment to make it more comfortable for all of you. But on the other hand, you have environmentalists who will tell us you must preserve the environment, you must conserve the environment and things like that. But because of my years of involvement in environment, I think I'm qualified to talk about environment. Okay. In 2019, I won the Malaysian National Energy Award, first prize, 10,000 US dollars, first prize, for energy saving of the tallest building in Penang. And with that same project, I was awarded second runners-up for the ASEAN Energy Award. ASEAN refers to the 11 countries in Southeast Asia. And the award was given in Bangkok. And I came here for the award. So you know, energy conservation is in fact one of the most important, if not the most important aspect of environmental conservation. Because burning of the fossil fuel, that is the main culprit of a lot of environmental problems today. Even the plastics is actually extracted from the fossil fuel. So it is the main culprit. And if I could manage to save the big buildings energy bill by 20% per year, which amounts to 600,000 US dollar per year. So that it means a lot. It means we can do a lot for the environment. So while apparently it looks like engineers is always exploiting the environment, but actually we are also very concerned about the environment. We want to make it comfortable for you, but also comfortable for future generations. So my job for many years as head of mechanical engineering in Malaysia was to formulate policies related to mechanical engineering, especially on air conditioning and firefighting in relation to environmental issues. So we have this Montreal Protocol, Paris Protocol, Kyoto Protocol, all sorts of protocols that we have to deal with all the times. And we have to change the refrigerants from time to time, from R12 to R22, now to 134A and whatnot. The developed countries always tell us that something is not right. So we have to do something. So that, because while we enjoy the aircon, actually, the refrigerants is emitting greenhouse gases and deplete, and not only greenhouse gases, they are also ozone depleting. They also deplete our ozone. So all these are interconnected. So as engineers, while we are concerned about bringing comfort to our life, we also have to deal with all these kind of issues. Now, we go back to basic about Buddhism. We talk about sustainable development, sustained. The Buddha's word is dharma, dar. Pali Sanskrit word dar means to support, to hold, to keep firm. So when we say sustainable development, actually means dharmic development. It's more or less the same meaning, sustain and dharma, more or less the same meaning etymologically. So we talk about sustainable development, sustainable environment. We are talking about a dharmic development. Okay. Now there are a few dharma principles that we must recall to mind to explain why we need to be involved in this environmental conservation. I think the first one is the mission given by the Buddha. Charata bhikkhave charikang bahujana hitaya bahujana sukhaya lokanu kampaya attaya hitaya sukhaya deva manusanang. The Buddha said, go forth. For what? For the benefits of all beings. Bahujana, not for Buddhists alone. For all beings, okay? And for the welfare, for the comfort, for the benefits of all beings. So if we bear this in mind, this mission statement, better than many companies' mission statement, given by the Buddha, we can understand that we have a role to play as a Buddhist. While it was given to the Arahants, we are no Arahants, but I think it's the same mission that we are carrying. So whatever we do, bear in mind, we have this Buddha's mission. Again, another important principle in Buddhism, we talk about metta. Every day we chant Karaniya Metta Sutta. We chant Ditta Vaya Ditta, Ichidure Vasanti Avidure, Buddha Sambhave Siva. We talk about beings far and near. Okay? Beings born or yet to be born. So, when we talk about beings yet to be born, when we say we radiate loving kindness, what do we conceive in our mind? Being seen or unseen? When we say seen or unseen, maybe not only human beings now. We're not only thinking about human beings, we are thinking about the devas, the gandhabas, the yakas, all the unseen ones. Maybe today's context, the microorganism also, unseen. Yet to be born, the future generations. If we don't think like this, we just chant. It's very easy to chant, easy to chant. But it has no meaning. But if you think in terms of the metta is not only for beings now, but also beings for the future, then we really have that commitment to do something for mankind. Okay. The third principle, I think, is very well stated. The five precepts. The five precepts, or as expounded in the global ethics, the first four precepts, these are all guiding ethical principles that if we uphold, if we practice, then we are helping to protect the environment. We cherish life, we cherish properties, and things like that. And of course, the Buddhism talk about purification of the mind. Many other speakers have talked about it. When we get rid of our greed, hatred, and delusions, or reduce our greed, hatred, and delusion, then we have less tendency to exploit the environments and make life more comfortable for everyone. So these are some of the basic Buddhist principles, not very highly philosophical, something that actually is very relevant to our life. Now, the next I want to talk about is the textual references that tells us about environmental conservation. First, we talk about forest conservation. We know the Buddha was born, Siddhartha Gautama was born under Asoka trees. Then later on, he practiced the first meditation under the Jambu tree. Then he gained enlightenment under the Bodhi trees. And then he resided in the first monastery. We call it Veluvana. It's a grove or a garden. Then he passed away under sal trees. So you can see the whole life of the Buddha very well connected to this natural things, nature. So the Buddha gained enlightenment under Bodhi trees, born under Asoka trees, and so on and so forth. So if you want to gain enlightenment, spend more time under the trees. Yeah. You spend more time under this building with all the electromagnetic waves. I think it's very difficult to gain enlightenment. I'm just joking. But one master did tell me, he said cannot gain enlightenment inside building because too much electric wave. But as engineers, we don't believe that. The Buddhist Sutta says the trees that give you pleasant shade to sit and lie at ease, you should not tear its branches away. This is in the Vinaya. Then the Buddha lived happily with food and water offered by elephants and honey by monkey in the Rakita Grove. So you see the Buddha very close to nature. And monks are prohibited to destroy vegetations. He must eat seedless fruits. Supposedly means we preserve the fruit must be ripe enough. Then when you eat, the seed, there is a seed, we want the seed to be replanted. So all these are evidences to show that the Buddha was very much in contact with nature and make great efforts to preserve nature. And I think this is also the practices of the people of the ancient days. Everybody did that. Okay. And not to pass urine or shit on grasses, because the urine is too hot for the grasses will turn yellow. So the advice is urine in a pot. Then after it's cooled down, then only you pour over the grass. See how careful we are, how meticulous we are, how meticulous, people of the ancient days, how careful they are. And even toothbrushes also got specification, not too big. Okay, 4-finger breath. Then we talk about water conservation. Of course, we all know about the history of a lot of water. People fight over water, the Koliyas and the Sakyas, all these things. So we know about the importance of water. And the Buddha also advised in the Vinaya rules, for example, no, you cannot shit and urine into the water. And I think people living next to the river usually knows that. I have been to very remote areas in Malaysia, and those rivers are not polluted. The people who went there and polluted are the city people. The city people went there and urinate. And sometimes we bring cows to the river, and if the cow shit in the river, then all the other the people will go against you. They make sure you don't contaminate the river. So people of the ancient days, or in the people even today in rural area, people know very well about the importance of river. It is only we city people, because we drink tap water, we contaminate the river water. And even well has got specifications. Bowls must turn upside down, and the wells must be covered, and then not to clean the mats near a well. And if you have a toilet, the tank or the pipe, the drainage of water, construction of the toilet must be lined with stones and all those things. All these are well specified. So the Buddha was like an engineer, got specification. Make sure we live in a very clean environment. Okay. And the Buddha also taught people not to poison water. Okay. Then of course we talk about wildlife. Okay. All these are textual references. Animals in the Buddhist perspective, all beings are equal to be respected. All beings are lives. Human beings always think that we are the master of all lives, but we are actually part of nature. We breathe in the air is part of the nature. We drink the water also part of the nature. So we are part and parcel of the nature. So if we understand it this way, then we will appreciate and learn to love and care for even wildlife. I think some of the things, because I want to control my time, to conserve time also very important. So I will jump. You can read some of these things. No need for me to go into details. Well, from practical examples, in the ancient day, we always talk about the 3 R's. 3 R's. 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. But nowadays, there are more and more R's coming up. So, for example, we need to rethink. Every time before we do something, we think, rethink, and we may have a new approach. Okay. Now, I take you to Bodhi Park in Shalam. President has visited the place where I'm the chairman now. We use solar panels to collect the solar energy and convert to electricity. We have 50,000 kilowatt hour per year. We get about $1,000 per month of electricity from selling this solar energy. Then we spend about another 1,000 ringgit or $300 for our actual electricity bill. So actually we have surplus electricity to sell to others. So now more and more people are going for this now, using solar energies. Then our temple was also advertised, promoted by the Malaysian Sustainable Energy Development Authorities as one of the first temples to adopt this solar energy scheme. Then, of course, we have water recycling, very rudimentary. Actually, Southeast Asian countries, a lot of us already practicing water recycling all the while until we have tap water. Then we forget about recycling this rainwater. But actually, it's not that something so sophisticated and so difficult to do. We can always do it. So we did a very rudimentary one, cost us hardly anything to get water to flush the toilets. Then we practice recycling, and our food waste will go to our small garden planting to provide us food. And of course, in the Bodhi Park, we call it a park because it's a vana. We have a lot of trees. Nowadays, people build temples, means big temples and no trees. But we have trees, okay? And we even have a green policy. We tell all the users of our Bodhi Park what they can do and what cannot do. It's a green policy. Our Bodhi Park is more like a training center. So we need a training center. So trainees come there. So we will pass them our green policy for them to comply, follow. So this is the pamphlets we do. We say we are the first eco temple in Malaysia. Now, the next thing that I would like to talk about, which Tyng will talk in more detail, is about how we organize events. We always think about environmental conservation in terms of normal things. But whenever we organize events, we emit a lot of greenhouse gases. And how can we reduce greenhouse gases through our by organizing a proper eco events? And recently, May the 4th, we have our May the 6th, we have the Wesak celebration organized by the state government, but in our venue. So we engage Tyng to facilitate, to teach, to provide us with consultancy services, how to organize an event in a green way. And this is the first attempt by Buddhist organization in Malaysia, and the first attempt by the state government also to organize an event. So this one will go into detail. So this is part of the ESG event management. We have a lot of people on that day. For example, we used to reduce electricity. Events, 25% of the electricity, 25% of the greenhouse gases supposedly come from electricity, aircon, lightings, things like that. So we use LED light. Then even the gifts that we give, we have to ask consultants, what sort of gift to give. So finally, you see on the right hand side, the one pack there's a rice. We give rice as a gift, and in the cloth bag, not plastic bag, something that they can use again. And rice, of course, everybody can eat. In Malaysia, we have to be very careful because sometimes Muslims don't like the things that we give them. So we have to make sure rice everybody eat, okay? So we give rice. Then even the gift we give to the VIP guests, it's fruit basket, so that they can eat, finish it off. Don't give us plug. I have lorries of plugs, I don't know what to do with them. And even food. Just now the speaker says vegetarian food. So we also promoted vegetarian food during the event. I'm not advocating 100% vegetarian, but we know 54% of the greenhouse gases in the world today come from animal husbandry, from rearing animals. So if we can reduce meat consumption, we can reduce animal husbandry, we can reduce greenhouse gases. So we do our little part, whatever we can, okay? And then Tyng will tell you later why we put a truck there, we compost it. And even opening ceremony, we plant trees to create awareness. Instead of doing something else, hit the gong or cut the ribbon, we plant trees. Okay? So, okay, I got to control my time. Now, I have two proposals for the environmental committees to consider. Number one is to create awareness, like we call it ESG, Environmental Social Governance Approach, in organizing events. We can consider doing this. At the beginning, it can be quite troublesome, quite irritable also. But then we can see the results. And the second thing I would like to propose, perhaps the Environmental Committee can consider erecting an accreditation scheme. Now, you see, in a country like Malaysia, we have Green Building Index, GBI, to accredit buildings which are considered green. In Singapore, you have the Green Label Scheme, Singapore Green Label Scheme, to accredit green buildings. In USA, you have LEED, Leadership in Engineering and Environmental Design. So I was thinking, why not WFP take the lead? We also have a scheme, but only for our temples. And we have our own criteria. Don't make it too difficult. Make it easier. Because if we were to follow other people's criteria, we can't meet. And I always believe in the middle way. Because I am not an environmentalist. I still use plastic. I still use survey. I still use chopstick, not carrying chopsticks. So I'm still practicing the middle way. But I think some kind of awareness and this kind of scheme will help us to propagate the idea of a green temple. Okay, I think I cannot take any more time. I have to
That's
pass
right.
over to
That's right.
Suting to tell us how she helped us to organize a green event.
So, just to reply on your request to the Standing Committee of Environment, I think that might be possible because we have recruited Sister Suting to be member of the Standing Committee of Environment, and she is the consultant for ESG. So that is possible, right?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. And next.
Hello. Next slide.
Okay. Hello. Good afternoon to honorable venerables, presidents of WFP, and ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers in the Dharma. I'm Tyng. I'm from Malaysia, and I'm going to share with you the recent events that we have organized together. It's called Green Wesak celebrations in Malaysia. I think it probably also the first in the world to have a green visa celebrations. So I think just now we already mentioned about climate change, and the importance of knowing climate change is the effects that it has to all of us, and it eventually will cause loss of life. So in scientific way, I think our previous speaker already told you. So I'll move a bit quicker in these few slides. And importantly, we have to think differently. And when we organize or do whatever activities, we also have to think about the SDG goals. Whether are we aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? And how do you make your events ESG driven events? So ESG stands for environment, social, and governance. And usually we will start with setting the sustainability goal with the organizing committee. And so that they buy in the ideas they want to start and they want to incorporate sustainability in their events. Then we will select the right partners. Partners also referring to all the stakeholders that involved in the events, including your suppliers that is going to support you in order to get the green or eco products. Then you will practice the green purchasing and you track the carbon footprints. Then we will share and disclose and communicate the effects of what we have done through the green events. And we're also talking about low carbon events. When we talk about low carbon events, we are looking into the carbon footprints of the events. And carbon footprints is actually means the total set of greenhouse gases caused directly or indirectly from our service and products. So what we are doing here with the event carbon footprint is to quantify the carbon footprints of the events activities. And why do we need to do this? It's because the guru of the top management gurus, Peter Drucker, actually mentioned that what gets measured get managed. So we need to measure in order to be able to manage the carbon footprints. And how do we calculate the event's carbon footprints? It's just the same. We look into the life cycle of the whole events, and we start with some pre-assessments to see whether does the events meets the ESG requirements, and then we will identify the source of emissions, and we start to do the calculations, and then we were able to get it verified if you need it. Then you get verifications from the certification body. If not, then we will produce the carbon footprints reports. And the benefits, of course, you get a baseline. You're able to benchmark what you are doing for your next event so that you can reduce it further. And it also becomes a launching pad for some new initiatives. So you can actually invite a lot of local inventions, participants that actually introduce some green products or services, and they can actually come to your events and to show it to the publics what they have been doing. For example, what we are showing here, some of the greens products, you can actually show it during events, and it will help to together push the green economy as well. So now comes to the case study, the Selangor State's Wesak Day celebrations. So as mentioned, we look into the life cycle. We call it the event life cycle, which means the pre-events, the event itself, and also the post-events that we are looking at. So after we calculate the carbon footprints, there's a choice of whether we want to go for a carbon neutral events by purchasing the carbon credits from the certified carbon offset projects. And after we going through the discussions, we decided to focus in 3 areas for these Wesak celebrations. To start with, there's green purchasing, transportations management, and food and beverage management. And for these events, actually, it runs in 3 days, 3 different days, and having 3 different events or activities. So throughout these 3 days, we actually accumulate of 4090 numbers of participants to these 3 events. And how do we capture this is we have a smart AI camera to capture all the visitors to our events venue. And how do we, how the figure runs, I don't know why. So how do we contribute to the carbon emissions? And from the calculations that we get, we see that the transportation still contributes the most to the carbon emissions, even though the committees put in the efforts to hire the buses to transfer people or participants from the different places to the venue in order to reduce the private vehicles to the site, but still of the total numbers of participants, transportation still contributes the most carbon emissions. And the next ones will be the food waste. So these are some of the green initiatives that we are doing. So I just briefly pick a few to share with you. Even the paper bags. And large. Already. Yeah. So for the paper bags, we are lucky to get the paper bag producer to sponsor the paper bags. Instead of plastic bags, we are using the paper bag. And for paper bag itself, we also go to the factory to make sure the paper bag is actually non-laminated type of paper bag, and if possible, non-printed paper bags. So that is the extra efforts that we have put in to the paper bags. And for the printing materials that we are using, for example, the coupon, because during these events, we have the bazaar and we encourage them to use the coupon to buy food from the store. So we have to design the coupon. And for coupon, we actually look into the eco design of this coupon. So it's not like a book or staple bind, but we design in just 1 sheet of A5 size paper, and we've perforated a line so people can just tear to buy the foods that they want. So this is the eco design part of it. And the ink that we are using to print this is using vegetable-based ink instead of the petrochemical base, which has a lower volatile organic compounds. And then we are also choosing the FSC paper, the Forest Stewardship Council paper. It's international certifications. That means the paper from well-managed forests. And furthermore, the printer that or the printing machines that we are using to print this is a carbon neutral press machines. So these machines actually have a certificate that is carbon neutral. So these are all done by an eco printer in Malaysia called Nest Eco. And the food trucks that Brother Ang mentioned just now is actually to tackle the food waste in the event itself. So we managed to engage composter which come in a truck, and it's very eye-catching, and we actually helps to educate people how to separate their waste. At the same time, this composter that we are choosing actually not just able to compose the food waste, but also the packaging, the foodware itself. The food packagings, we will choose those that compostable, for example, made from bagasse or other recyclable materials. And then some of the food cutlery, we are not using the plastic cutlery like what we see sometimes. We are using the paper-based cutlery. So all this cutlery is actually compostable through these composter machines. And at the end, we actually collected this compost, and this compost will be delivered back to Body Park, and they can use it for their gardening. And this is examples of the green purchasing. The first one is actually the mineral water bottle. So we choose the mineral water brand that able to have the recycled plastics. They use the recycled plastic and it's from PET. So after we can throw the PET they collect can turn into the other items like what we see here. So currently from the science or the technologies that we know, the PET plastics able to convert into all these products. So, and the other pictures that you see in the slide is the LED lightings. So for events, we need to create atmosphere for people to attract people to the events. So we put on some decorative lightings. And all these lightings is actually our contractor, knowing our effort, they also took the efforts to buy or to purchase, to choose the LED energy saving lightings. It's only 1 watt per light bulb. So these are some parcels of the green initiatives that we have done. So importantly, the best practices is we need to create awareness to all, and then also to make sure we're able to conserve the energy that we are using. So yeah, that's all from my sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very interesting from both Brother Ang and Sister Suting. I think that's an innovation from Malaysia about the body park, that you have the event and also the Wesak, the green Wesak. I think many of us can follow with that. And then if you need information, the consultant is here. Okay, any question? Maybe may I ask question? Sister Suting, what is with that kind of green Wesak, what is the most impact from doing that? That that best come out from that? What is impacted by this?
I think it's the commitments from the community. Once they understand that we want to go green, so each divisions or unit, they will try their best to source for green supplies and to even to ask. So I will get a lot of calls from them to ask me, is this green or is that green? They will show me pictures and I have to answer. So I think it's a very good awareness creations even before the events is running. So this is another form of education. So I think in Buddhist community, we organize a lot of events. And so when we decided, the leader decided to go green, and it actually will make a lot of changes to the events that we are organizing.
In fact, this is a state organized event, but we are the one organizing. State give money and financial support.
Okay.
But the important thing is, the state also has never done it before. So we are telling the state government to take the lead. And the state government officials, ministers, actually went up to the truck and learn and talk, things like that. And that minister actually is in charge of environment. So we are educating the leaders.
So it's
once the leaders take the change, it's easier.
inspiring, right?